Okay, just time for a quick one today. Ecco the Dolphin is an old Sega Mega Drive game from the 90s, and I was obsessed with it. It was insanely hard, incredibly serious, had an amazing soundtrack, and the visuals were stunning, especially the animation. Ecco could move in 8 directions, though only 4 needed to be drawn and animated if you consider sprite flipping to save on cartridge space. Not that it really made any difference when you look at just how many frames of animation Ecco has. Movement consisted of an undulating sine wave motion that, I assume, was researched from how actual dolphins move, pushing through the water resistance and causing forward momentum. These frames of animation, again, 4 lots had to be animated, are sped up or slowed down depending on if you were mashing C or not, which was the button used to swim quicker through water. This is kinda like how speeding up with Sonic was, reusing the same frames but playing them at faster or slower frame rates depending on your movement speed in-game. The B button was the dash attack, which could be used to attack enemies, push things quickly, damage barriers, things like that. There was a small build-up of anticipation before it released into a sharp pointed motion accompanied with some dashing lines, again in at least 4 directions. A slight magnetic attribute would make this attack a little easier, where the game would automatically detect the nearest enemy to attack by dashing. The A button was for using sonar for echolocation, which had no animation from Ecco, but immediately sent out a wave from his front, allowing the player to receive back a small map of the area. Later on, this becomes a damaging energy wave that can be used to attack enemies from afar. It's interesting that your initial attack is a slow one, in that you have to know you can pull it off in time, otherwise you'll take damage. It's interesting because your sonar is an instant action that has no input lag. It makes sense for it to be a helpful tool to the player in some way, at least at first. So when it becomes an attack, it's a completely different feel. We talk a lot about game feel on this channel, and this is how and if animation can affect how gameplay feels to a player. Tight controls rely on instant player feedback. If you press a direction on your controller, you need to see that response on screen immediately. That's if you want those tight controls. Ecco isn't a tight game, and that's not a criticism, but we'll come back to this. Going back to the dash and sonar, the reason that your sonar becomes a weapon later on is because it then makes attacking easier. You now don't need to have that big build-up before unleashing a melee attack, putting yourself at risk. It's just instant and long range. Quick note here, you could actually push forward and press dash to get a more instant attack without the anticipation. My research hasn't brought up a direct answer other than that it's a realistic approach to momentum. If you're at a standstill, you're not going to instantly go into a dash, and if you're already in motion, you don't need any more anticipation for that forward motion. So if you're already moving, dashing will just perpetuate that energy, so there's no build-up needed. Oh, also you do get a power-up mid-game that allows you to dash sonar and attack enemies from far away. So when I say Ecco wasn't a tight game in relation to game feel, this was a deliberate choice. The game devs wanted you to feel like this was real heavy water you were moving through. This is why whenever you change direction, there's a good handful of frames of that turning animation. Whether that's from one angle to another, from left to right, or from up to down. This is what's referred to as fluidity in game animation, how one action blends into another. You have to consider game feel when planning your transition frames though. Having something look pretty but feel slow could frustrate a player. But the whole game is built around this realistic feeling. The game wouldn't feel right if Ecco snapped between directions instantly like in Mega Man. So extra frames of animation are afforded for blending between actions. Another quick note here is that because Ecco's up and down sprites are the same one but flipped, whenever he transitions from up to down, you do end up with a very quick but unusual few frames. Because his back has to be facing us on both frames, and because he transitions vertically, you do end up with an impossible movement. He goes from back-facing to back-facing, which doesn't make sense technically, but it actually works fine visually. Maybe you never noticed it before and that's fine, I only noticed it researching this video, but it's good that you didn't notice it because it shows the game still flows nicely and isn't too distracting. There's a lack of animation for when Ecco takes damage, he just gets pushed back. I guess that's an elegant solution to save on game memory. Although when you look at just how many frames of animation there are generally for Ecco, I'm not quite sure how elegant it is. I mean, it's very elegant to look at, obviously, just look at how smooth it all is. Now, when I say elegant when talking about game animation, it usually means about being efficient, how much bang you get for your buck. It's curious there isn't an animation for taking damage, but there is a seemingly endless supply of frames for moving in a near-perfect circle. Oh yeah, that might be because of the complicated-looking system that allows that very fluid sine wave motion that Echo can perform during gameplay. The game doesn't feel so sluggish once you get that going, I tell you. Overall, the animation is just insanely detailed and fluid. At least on Echo himself. Some of the characters have fancy animation like the octopus or the seahorse, but most of the time it's just 1 or 2 frames that move about on screen. Which is fine, I guess. A quick shout out to the lovely effects animation too, such as the splashing animation, the way bubbles will shoot down after entering the water, the electric animation, the sonar shape, the way crystals spin and bounce you back. It's all fairly lovely, as is the sequel. And the Master System port too, actually. Massive shout out to Eka the Dolphin Online and all the members. They were a massive help in research for this little video. If you're even remotely interested in Eka the Dolphin in any of the games, definitely join the Discord and follow the Twitter account and just have a look around the website. There's this cool little generator thing. I mean, if you're into video game art like I am, like maps and stuff, check it out. Now, I know this isn't the promised Mega Man 2D to 3D video, but that will come soon enough, I'm sure. I had to get this video produced while it was in my head, but it kind of came to me one night. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this VGAS short. VGAS? Look at all these absolutely bloody wonderful people who support the production on Patreon. Look at them. Look at their names. Their lovely names. Okay, see you next time. Love you, bye. Look, who's that?
Yes.
No, what is it?
It's a whale.
It's not a whale. It's a
Dolphin.
dolphin.
Yeah.
Do you know what his name is?
Dolphin.
Dolphin the dolphin. His name is Echo.
Echo.
Yeah.
I love Echo.
You love Echo?
Echo!